right, hello. Long time no see. We're out here in Southern Oregon, and as you can tell, I got a new rig and I wanted to make a video about it. So we're making a video about it. This spot is pretty incredible. It's up here on the Abert Rim in Southern Oregon. And let me show you the view here. Yeah, so as you can tell, it's pretty hazy down there in the valley. That's where I was earlier today, and the smoke was even worse. Got lots of wildfires burning across Oregon right now. I've been up in the Northwest now for a long time, about 2 months in the new rig. I was up in Washington for most of that, and now I'm working my way south actually towards Colorado. Got some work down there, some friends to see, and that's where I'm going to catch the beginning of the fall. Anyway, I think the plan is to just relax here tonight, and I'm hoping that the haze and smoke is a little bit better in the morning, so we might get a cool view, but who knows. But regardless, we're gonna do a little truck and camper tour in the morning, which I've been wanting to do for a long time, so we're finally gonna do that. But yeah, we'll see you in the morning.
Good morning from the new camper. I guess I promised a tour today, so I'm gonna do that. But first I gotta make some coffee, so let's do that. All right, I forgot I don't have any coffee filters, and I forgot to buy some at the store yesterday, so I think we're gonna make some instant cold brew instead.
Oh, that's good. So I figured I'd take this time before we do a little tour of the rig to kind of fill you in on what I've been up to and where I've been. Yeah, so shortly after my accident, I was looking for a replacement rig. I had considered a few vehicles. I was looking at a few Toyota Hiaces in the area. I was looking at those, I was looking at old trucks. But I found the used market, especially for trucks, to be insanely inflated. It's just the nature of the market right now. Anyway, I walked into a Toyota dealership just a few days after my accident just to see what options they had I wasn't really seriously considering buying something new, but given the used market and given the fact that I needed to get on the road, didn't need to, I wanted to get on the road quickly. I just wanted to provide as many options as I could for myself. So walked into a Toyota dealership, I think it was, just 3 or 4 days after my crash, and told them my criteria for a truck. I was looking at the Tacomas. I wanted 4-wheel drive, I wanted a 6-foot bed, and I wanted a manual, which was kind of a lot to ask for. But turns out that they had a couple trucks that fit those criteria. They weren't at the dealership, but they were on their way. So I put a reservation on one of them. It was a green one. And I didn't have to commit at that point. It was more of just like a temporary hold on the truck. But I still explored other options as I was waiting, but the truck came in, I think it was 11 days later. So May 7th was my accident, and then May 31st, I had a new truck. I found the camper on Craigslist. It was a guy in Arizona selling it. Kind of took a gamble and drove all the way down to Arizona before seeing it. But once I saw it, I knew I wanted it. It was in Yuma, Arizona. It was probably 117 degrees. And then I drove the thing all the way back up to Oregon to my friend's place where I had stayed for the time after my accident. I went back there because most of my stuff, a lot of my gear was still there, and kind of put everything together in the rig there and set off towards Washington. And I spent the rest of the summer in the lush forests and mountains of Washington. And yeah, it was just really awesome to be in a new place with a new rig and start fresh, start new. Yeah, and just one final thing I'll say here is that I'm so grateful, not only for how the accident played out, but for the fact that I got in a new rig so quickly. It was hard work. It was a lot of searching and thinking and driving to put all the pieces back together. But I do think there was an element of luck involved. It's a really hard time to buy a vehicle, and I know people that are waiting 3 to 6 months for the vehicle that they want, and I didn't have to wait nearly as long as that. And I was able to get in a new rig by the end of the summer, which was really important to me because almost my whole time on the road, I was looking forward to this awesome warm summer with friends in Washington. That was like the clear vision I had. And then after the accident, I wasn't so sure that was going to happen anymore, just because of the time that it would take me to get back on the road. But I made it. All right, without further ado, I present to you the new rig. It is a 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport in 4-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual transmission and the 6-foot bed with an access cab, V6. Paired with a slide-in unit made of fiberglass. The company is called Toughport, and this is not a stock unit. It was modified by the previous owner, so I bought the camper used, actually. If you're wondering, some people ask me why I went with this truck, why I went with the Tacoma, and the first reason is my old truck was a Toyota. It was a Tacoma. It was the first gen, and I loved the crap out of that thing. Just every time I drove it, it was a joy. It got me to so many amazing places without a problem, and it had pretty solid reliability. These trucks are just insanely maneuverable. They're not very big, so you can drive them in cities. You can drive them in some pretty tight spaces. You can drive them down some pretty narrow trails, especially if you have a 4x4 version. You know, you can get most places, even with this stock setup. I've taken this thing off-road and gotten to some pretty awesome spots. The only modification that I've done to this thing is leaf springs. I did an add-a-leaf in the back to handle the weight of the camper. And there were so many people telling me, oh dude, like get airbags, do a really heavy leaf pack or something, but that out of leaf was all I needed. In fact, it actually rode just fine, completely stock. It just sagged a little bit in the rear. But yeah, anyway, I love this thing. It gets 20-ish miles per gallon on the highway, and then I'm closer to 18 or so in the city. So overall, I'd say this thing averages like 19 miles per gallon, which is pretty solid for four-wheel drive pickup truck. Let's step inside here, and I'll show you the final reason that I went with this truck in particular, and it is the transmission. So as you can see, it's a 6-speed manual, and that is huge for me. My old truck was a stick. I really love driving stick. I don't know, it just makes driving fun. I love driving to begin with, and this just adds another element of fun. And it also gives you a little bit more control when you're off-road, on-road even, and it also helps you save your gas mileage. Love the transmission, love having a stick. It's just an awesome time, always. Yeah, up front here, I've just got my typical decor on my dash. If you saw my old truck, it's kind of the same exact thing. Put this dash cover on there, A, because I like the color, but B, because it protects the dash and it allows me to put all my patches up here, which is fun. Got camera bag and backpack up front. Back there usually is my cooler and my water, and then just behind me I've got some camera gear. If you're wondering, yes, I can make it through the pass-through. I can squeeze my body through that, but it's not fun, so I really only reserve that for an emergency situation. All right, so moving on to the camper. The camper is a fiberglass slide-in unit made by a Canadian company called Toughport. The original owner of this thing bought it, and it looked a lot different. It didn't have windows on the side, didn't have a roof rack or the awning, and it also didn't have this wild paint job that you're seeing. He went with like a desert camo look. He had his whole truck painted the same. Not only is it painted, but it's got this Raptor liner on it, which is pretty nice. Gives it an interesting texture. When I first saw this camper in pictures, I thought the paint was kind of insane. But after seeing it in person and then seeing it paired with the green on the truck, I thought, you know, this actually kind of works. So I think we're just gonna roll with it. I installed these torque lift tie downs. They bolt to your frame. You don't have to drill into your frame, they just bolt onto the frame, so that's nice. And then these turnbuckles are just what the guy had laying around, so I'm gonna replace these with some higher quality ones and get rid of these chains because that's gonna rust, and also it just doesn't look that pretty. Final things on the exterior, there's not too much to point out other than this 270-degree awning which I've set up, and it's really nice to have. There's a Baja Racks roof rack on there, which I don't have anything stored on there yet, but I probably will put some gear up there. But yeah, let's check out the inside of the camper. So the first thing I noticed about this thing is it's really well made. The fiberglass is really, I don't know, it just feels really solid to me. The door handle and the lock, just super sturdy. The whole thing is weather sealed really well, so I don't have any issues with dust or water getting in there. The dude I bought it from did the whole build, so not much of this is me in here. I've done a few small things, but yeah, he built this storage box underneath the bed, which you can access here. I've got most of my kitchen stuff in there, and as you can see, it's not too full right now. And then yeah, that's underneath the bed, which is a twin size. It's honestly just big enough for me. I'm like a little over 6 foot tall. If this thing was any shorter, I would be effed, but it's plenty comfortable for me. Nice soft mattress. And cool thing too is the dude built in this hinge design, and you know, so you can access the back of the storage a little bit more easily. Yeah, let's step on in. So stepping into the camper, it's pretty nice in here. I like to sit right where I'm seated right now, and it's nice because I can fully sit up in this thing. I can't stand up, which, you know, some people think is a deal breaker, but it's not really for me. I don't really notice it all that much. And I don't really want to be too tall overall as a rig. And I know there are pop-up designs, like those pop-up campers. Those are sweet, but for me, I just didn't want to have to deal with the fabric, because the fabric on those things could rip, moisture can build up, you can get mold. Sometimes it doesn't seal well, dust gets in, etc. Also, you lose a little bit of your stealth factor, I think, with those things. Not that this thing is really all that stealthy, but yeah. We'll start with this corner here, and it's just some storage. I like the way the guy put these baskets in. It's really nice. None of this stuff falls out, usually. Got some artwork here by some of my friends.
Oh shit! Oh fuck!
And just a random photo of Crater Lake, and that's my old license plate. But yeah, it's just a little storage area. And moving on to the windows. These windows are Eurovision windows. It's a design that I hadn't seen before this, but after watching some YouTube videos, I'm realizing a lot of people have similar windows in like truck campers and stuff. The way they work is they're awning windows, so I can have this open in the rain, which is really nice. And it's got two rollers that are integrated. The top one is your screen, which is nice. It clips into the bottom shade here, which pulls up. So that's actually a solar shade, which is nice. But yeah, those windows are great. Moving on to the box here. So this is where the guy I bought this from had his battery, which ran up to his electrical unit, which was right there. He actually left the bolts in the camper, and then that ran through these wires to his solar panels on the roof. It's nice that he left most of the infrastructure in place. If I want to replicate his setup, I could definitely do that. And then moving on to the front and the cab over part of the camper. This cab over is not nearly big enough to sleep in, which is fine for me, so it's just turned into storage. It's essentially my closet. And then over here, I'll point out, I've got my skis, and these are the poles for the awning outside. They're just kind of stored up here for now. It's mostly out of the way. It doesn't look that pretty though, so I'm gonna find a new home for these, probably on the roof eventually. And yeah, just another window on this side. We've got this shade, goes right back in here for when I want to have a little privacy or block out the light. And then I'll also point out, I've got these camp string lights, these LED lights that run off the Jackery, and they really don't pull that much power. They're like super efficient, but I've got them gaff taped all around the camper. Just kind of a temporary lighting solution for now. There's also this dome light that I'll hook up to my electrical whenever I get that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just really nice to have some floor space here. I didn't have that in my old setup. It's not a lot by any means, but being able to sit up in here, being able to just have a space to hang out in, whereas I didn't really have that before. This thing really feels like an upgrade to me. So that's pretty much it. I hope I covered all the important stuff. But if you want to know more about it, yeah, drop a comment, ask me a question. I'd be happy to talk about this thing or about the truck, because it's a pretty unique little setup. I definitely get a lot of thumbs ups and waves and stuff on the highway. People definitely notice this thing. And yeah, I'll just shut the door and you can kind of hear how solid this thing is. It really is awesome. It's solid, it's lightweight, it's got enough space for me, and it's customizable. I've got some plans and I'm excited to see how this thing evolves. That's pretty much it for today. I hope you liked this. I hope I did a good job with this tour. It's definitely not easy to talk about your space because I feel like I'm just missing things. But if I am, yeah, drop a comment, ask me a question. I'd be happy to talk more about this truck. See ya.